Hey, everybody, welcome to Mid-America Dirt. I'm Skip, and I am super excited to be joined by Clay Stuckey. Clay, how are you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Where are you from, Clay? Shreveport?
I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, which is the very northwest corner.
Yep. So you're pretty close to Boot Hill in that area?
Yeah, I live every bit of 20 minutes, 30 minutes from Boot Hill.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's pretty cool. Is that home track for you? I mean, if you had to pick one?
It's really the only track. Like when I mapped out my schedule this year, it's the only track within 4 hours of my house that I raced all year. So I raced there
Yeah.
twice. Well, I raced there twice, and then that 2 times was the only times within 4 hours. So yeah, it's the only local track I got, at least for right now. We got
I
the
got you.
Architect Speedway that does some late model racing every now and then. It's 20 minutes from here, but we don't ever. I've raced 5 years and it's 20 minutes from my house. So I think I've never raced there. So it's a
Wow. I heard
different
they don't do a
situation.
lot of late model stuff.
The guy that owned it he raced mods, so he enjoyed modifieds. So he didn't have nothing to do with late models. Now the new owners happen to be related to me, so they love late models. So I'm sure there'll be some late model racing there next year.
That's cool because I hear people tell me I need to go check that place out. So I'm,
It's
I'm
awesome.
hoping
It's one of
that
the
would
best
be
tracks
cool.
we got. Definitely one of the best
Really.
tracks we got. Oh yeah.
What happened to
Oh
that
yeah.
Rev place? It was down there by or
The
somewhere in
Rev,
Louisiana, wasn't it?
yes
Yeah.
sir. That is about 2.5 hours east of me, and that track it's a parking lot. So that track now, the city bought it or something, and is going to turn it into a construction site. So it's gone for good. And that
Yeah.
place
That
was
stinks.
immaculate. Yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah, man,
So
there's
our
a bunch
tracks
of them.
are, man, our tracks are slowly dying around here.
Yeah. Well, I
Slowly
mean, yeah,
dying.
we just had Monette up here, in Southwest Missouri.
Hmm.
It's, I guess, done from what everybody says. So
Is it? I've
then
never
we got,
raced there. I've always had people
you ever
get me
raced at
to
Monette?
try to, but never raced there.
Oh, man,
I
the track was freaking awesome, man. I watched a lot of racing there last season. It was pretty fun. Now I don't have to race, so I don't know how it is to race on, but
yeah,
everybody says they loved it.
I heard a lot about it, but I never even. I don't think there's ever been a super race there since I've been racing, so I've never been.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The Rev series,
Hmm.
they race there.
Okay,
Um, But hey, there's tracks like that everywhere, man. Outlaw
but
over here in
definitely
Oklahoma,
been there once.
yeah, it's sitting
Yeah,
there.
been there once. It's sitting there
Red
doing
Dirt,
nothing.
Red Dirt
Yeah.
Raceway over there in Meeker, it's
Hmm.
sitting in, So it's sucks to see, man. But
Yeah, actually the Outlaw track, you talking about the track in Swim Muskogee, right?
yep,
Somewhere around
south of
there.
Muskogee, yep.
So that track, we had one comp race there a couple years ago. Maybe this was last year. No, this would have been 2 years ago. And it was not a bad race. It really but I just remember them saying when we were leaving, they're like, "Oh, this will be the last race here ever." And you're like, "Huh?" Because this is like a really nice facility, like an
It
extremely
was
nice
it,
facility. And he's like,
yeah,
"Yeah," or somebody was telling me we'll probably never race here again. I'll shut it down after this weekend. And that's the last I've heard about it.
man.
So that's
That
a
stinks
bummer.
too because it looks like I guess the track was pretty big. I don't know.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's as big. It's not as big as the Thunderbird track, but it's close.
Yeah.
And a little bit different
Yeah.
dirt.
But yeah, it did look like the facilities were pretty nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hate to see it sitting there like that. Let's talk about you, man.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you come from a racing family.
That's all I've
Kind of
ever
give me
known.
the history on that.
Man, my dad started racing in the 80s, like for fun, like everybody else does. Just did it as a hobby at Boot Hill. Well, by the 90s rolled around, he decided, like a lot of kids do, that's what he wants to do the rest of his life. Well, he got a job working at Gulf Valve GVS in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, by the coast, like way south. Well, that at the time Freddie Smith was driving. Well, my dad was just the truck driver, the guy that wiped the car down every week. And within two, so he was there 2 years, and then Freddie quit, and they hired Billy Moyer. Well, by that time, my dad was the crew chief. He had worked his way up to the crew chief, so he run that team the whole time Billy drove it. And then when Billy quit in '98, my dad quit with him because they didn't really know what was going to happen. So my dad quit with him and moved to Scott Blinkwitz's house in Morrisburg, wherever he's from. And then he lived there 2 years or a year and a half, something like that, with Scott. Lived in Scott's basement, him and my mom. So my mom actually, they got married sometime in the '90s, way back when. And she drove the t-shirt trailer for GVS. So wherever that rig
No
went,
joke.
she followed them with a dually and a trailer.
That's
So
awesome.
she was the t-shirt girl for Billy and Freddie. My whole time my dad was the crew chief. Well, then when he went to Scott's, my mom went with him, and then my brother was born, so she took care of my brother and did the t-shirts with Scott's mom on the side. And then my dad was the crew chief of Scott's car for a couple of years. And then that's when he decided he was going to take that information and go home, and he moved to Texarkana, south of Little Rock. And Duke Wissonet offered him a job to be the crew chief of that team. So that's when Duke was still like hardcore racing a lot. So that would have been 2002, 2003. He did that for a couple years, and then he decided he was going to go out on his own. So he quit the Duke deal, quit the Wissonet ride, and then he decided he started Stuckey Enterprises and started building Mastersbilts, rockets, whatever you wanted. He'd just go pick up the chassis, bring it to his shop, put his body on it, cut bars, weld. He had his own jig. Well, in 2004, like a few months after I was born, they moved here to Shreveport, which is where it's where they're from. It's where my whole family's from. So they moved back home to Shreveport, and then the Stuckey Enterprises grew and grew and grew until Black Diamond started in 2015, 2014, up until
Okay.
last year. So we've been
Okay.
here most of my life.
See, that's why I love doing this show, man. I did
Yeah,
not know any of that. That is
yeah.
super cool.
So
It
like,
really is.
I don't have any of them in here. Like, if you go upstairs in our other shop, there's Billy Moyer doors from the GVS days and Freddie Smith. There's a Scott door
That's
hanging up
cool.
in my brother's shop. I mean, there's like, if you go in my closet in my room, there's the crew shirts. So when Earl Pearson, that's another thing. So that's Earl was a big part of my dad's career. When Earl started driving the Dunn Benson car, and whenever that would have been, 2002, somewhere in there, they hired my dad to be the consultant. So he would just fly in there, be the crew chief for a couple of days, and then fly home with Jason Fitzgerald. So if you go in my closet, there's Earl Pearson crew shirts, Freddie Smith, Billy Moyer, Matt Miller, Don O'Neill, whoever he
Golly.
would have helped back then.
Yeah.
When Francis's brother died, and so that's how my dad got real tight with Francis. When Francis's brother died, and whenever that was, like '98 or '99, he hired my dad to be a consultant. So my dad got to know Steve and Earl like before I was born. By the time I was born, he was around Don O'Neill a ton with the Mastersville house car. Because when he started Stuckey Enterprises, the biggest thing we sold was Mastersville. Mastersville by Stuckey was the biggest thing there was. That's the biggest car we sold was Mastersville. So it's what we sold the most amount of. So that car. So when that was real big, he was around the Mastersville house car, which was Don O'Neill at the time. And then we sold Rockets for a short period of time. We sold Pierces for a short period of time, but mainly Mastersbilts, and then occasionally when the Dunn Benson team. So when Longhorn started, or this would have been before Longhorn was started, when the Dunn Benson team was still Bobby Labonte and Earl, they were in Mastersbilts. We built most of Earl's cars for most of his career. And then anytime Bobby Labonte would go to drive a car, whoever, we built those. We built a lot of prelude cars. It's another cool thing about this stuff is I have a lot of like Joey Logano, Justin Allgaier stuff in here. And
Yeah.
then so that just grew and grew. We started our powder coating company in probably 2012, 2011, and then that grew massively. I mean, that blew up. And then my brother started a laser cutting company in 2021, somewhere in there, 2022. That blew up. So he just moved. We built this shop for him and me to race out of. And then when
Yeah.
his sickness started, he couldn't race no more. So then he moved his shop across town. So his business is booming. The powder coating shop's booming. The racing now with the Longhorn deal is just outstanding. I mean, it changed
Okay.
everything. And then we got a storage building beside us. I mean, if I could ever hire someone for social media people like you, if I could ever hire someone to follow me around with a camera every day, it'd be entertaining. Because the amount of chaos that
I
goes,
bet.
because like right across that wall, there's 30 employees at a powder coating shop. You go across another wall, there's 20 employees at the dirt car shop. And then across this wall, there's a laser cutting shop that's got 5 employees or however many he works in there. But there's so much chaos
Golly.
going around in here. It'd be an entertaining show.
Yeah, I bet,
Yeah.
man. You do need
Oh
to get
yeah.
somebody to do that. That would be
Oh
cool.
man, that would be cool.
That would be
But
cool.
really,
S
when I graduated high school, so when I went to races, so I never local raced. Like my dad was racing nationally by the time I was old enough to know what was going on. So from the time I was born, really, until I was probably 12, I went to the races every weekend with my dad, wherever. Eldora, Knoxville, went to Knoxville a bunch, Tampa, Wheatland a ton of times. Just wherever he was going, Cedar Lake, wherever he was flying to that weekend for Earl Pearson or Steve or Don or whoever he was helping, I'd just fly with him. Well, by the time
Man,
I was 12, I did what every other kid does. I started playing football, basketball, hockey, baseball, and I decided, like, man, this racing stuff, why would you want to do this your whole life? Like, honestly, that was my thought process. I was burnt out on it. I didn't really see, I didn't see me ever doing it. So I was like burnout. So when I was probably 12 until I was probably 16, I never went to a racetrack ever. Because
wow.
I couldn't even go in the race shop. So then when I was 16, this employee we had a crate car. And then one day, just for fun, my dad's like, "Hey, why don't you come drive this crate car and we'll just have fun with it?" So I drove it. I wouldn't even go full throttle. I never even put a helmet on before, and I would have been just about turned 17. Like I never even put a helmet on in my life. I drove this crate car the first time, and then I decided at that point, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life, really.
That was it?
Yep. I crate raced. I would take so Earl would drive a crate race a couple times a year, just the really big ones. I would just get in that car with his seat and everything. I had his fire suits, so they were gigantic, looked like parachutes on me. So I would just get in Earl's crate cars and just race them until I didn't, until we would sell them. When Earl didn't want a car, I'd take that one. So I did that for a couple years until I built my own car, probably 2020, very end of 2023. I got my first like car that was personally mine. And by that point, I got to where I could run decent at these crate races around my house, like here, Super B Speedway, Texarkana 67, just about 5 tracks around my house. I race that every week. Well, then by that point, I could run decent every week. Like I was okay. I wasn't never winning anything. I don't know if I ever won. I won one crate race, so I wasn't like winning every week. Well, then my dad one day he's like, "Hey, let's go super racing." Since Earl's team had quit by that point, so Earl's team had disbanded. Earl went and did his thing. My dad disbanded the team, so we had all this super equipment, the best of the best equipment, sitting in there doing nothing. So my dad's like, "Let's just go super racing." Me and my brother. So I was like, "Oh, great!" So now I'm back at square one, back and getting laughed every night. So, but I loved it. So I started super racing, and I just fell in love with it. Then I raced like maybe 70 times. 2023, it's probably when I started super racing. So,
Wow.
and then 2024. So now I finally sold off my last crate car a few months ago. I don't even own a crate car no more because the crate racing died around my house like really bad. It picked up when I started racing, and by the time I started super racing, nobody had a crate car. So it just sat there. So I sold it off. And then now this will be the first year I've ever had 2 cars really like with me for real. So uh I wrecked a car at Wynot at the Fall Classic race. I wrecked a car and it killed the front clip. It was the first Longhorn I had. It was their OG Longhorn that we got in whenever that was, April. And then that car is getting in. We're putting a clip on it right now. Well, then I built me a new one when I wrecked that one. So this will be the first year I've ever had 2 cars. And then so hopefully I'm planning on racing another 100 times this year. So I'm trying to another
Wow,
110,
okay.
120 times. Like I
Okay.
hit 107 this year. I'm gonna try to repeat that. Like I don't think I take a weekend off from January to November, and I'd
I
just try
didn't
to do that
I
again.
I didn't realize that you'd only been racing Super since 2023.
Yeah, I've only been racing super. This year. I'm going into my 6th. This year was my 5th year racing total, and then this will be probably my 4th year super racing. fourth
Okay.
real year. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Do you have, I mean, are you probably don't know this, or you probably got to wait. Do you know what you're running next year? Or are you waiting until after speed weights?
As of right now, I'm running no series. I'm just gonna do the same thing, a lot of the same thing I did this year. Race as many times as possible.
Okay.
If there's a race on a Tuesday night in Florida, we're driving to Florida. If I gotta be in Mississippi by Friday, we're driving to Mississippi. It's kind of the way I did it this year. Just how many laps can you get in a year? And I'm gonna just do the same thing. Try to race another 100 times, get another 1,000 laps under my belt before I. So like my dad's always been hardcore. You know, Billy never really points raced. Scott never really points raced. Well, those are the people he was around when he started racing. So
Right.
that's what he learned from. So my dad's pretty hardcore on like he don't like points racing. He's not a fan of it. So he was always, you know, when you can go to Knoxville, Iowa, go to Knoxville Nationals and make that race without a B main, and then go to Eldora for the World, make the race without a B main. Go to the go to Port Royal, go to the dirt track or wherever the dirt track's at, Eldora, and make that race without a B main. Then you can go run a national series because then you don't rely on provisionals every night. When you get good enough to
Okay.
not have to need a provisional every night, go run that series. Until then, he's like, don't waste your time. Like, you're going to spend more money than it's worth. When there's weekends, there could be a comp race 4 hours from my house, but I'm loading up and driving to Pennsylvania. Well, why wouldn't it be dumb not to go to the
Yeah.
comp race? So that's
Right.
just the way he looks at it. He looks
Yeah.
at it more of a don't points race if you don't have to type of deal.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, and
Yes,
plus, you can
sir.
just go, like you said, if there's a pretty good paying race close to home, we're not going to spend a bunch of money to go to. It just makes more sense. Yeah. What do you think about the points fund comp cams this year stepping up? That's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's pretty awesome. The the biggest issue that guy's going to run into is I don't know who's going to run his series. Just because it's the way, not none of that guy's fault. That guy's done a great job. It's really just more circumstances, just timing. With BJ Robinson kind of losing his ride, Kyle Beard, probably Kyle. I'd say Kyle still do it. John Silly's still good at his 3 or 4. John Mitchell, Bagley. Uh, but obviously, like your Mississippi group isn't going to run it because we don't really go to Mississippi anymore. I'd say you'd get more of your Tony Jackson group, your Krigler group are going to run more of them because it's more in that area. But your group down here they get tired of driving. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, like where I live is a terrible place to run a series out of, just because you're so far from everything. You're so far from the
Right.
comp series.
You're
You're
on the
far
far
from the
southeast
yeah.
corner of
Yes,
everything.
sir. You're far from the Lucas
The
series. You're
West.
far from the World Outlaw series. You're going to drive 10, 12 hours just about everywhere you go. So you just get used to it. But the comp series, I give the guy credit. He's dumping a lot of effort into just making the series bigger than what it was, which the Sullivans took it. I can't say the Sullivans took it and made tremendous steps just in however long, 10 years' time, however long they owned it. And at least this guy's putting in the effort. I'm not sure how it'll work out this year, but I'd say this guy's at least putting in the effort to make it big one day.
Yeah. I mean, what would you'd like to see a move more toward tracks in the Southwest, I would assume, correct? Down your
Yes
area.
and no. For my sake, yes. I will say for Clay Stuckey's sake, yes, because then I don't have to drive 10 hours. I love Springfield. I love Wheatland. I love all them tracks up there. I like going up there, but they're all 8, 9, like Springfield's 8 hours from me, 8.5 hours. Wheatland's 9 hours. You go to, let's say St. Louis is 10 hours. So anywhere around there is 10 hours. So like anywhere for me, that sucks. And I would rather the races be down here. But for the series' sake, I like it like that because then there's going to be there's just more late models up there. There's not enough teams down here to support the old SUPR series and stuff like that. Like you just can't support them no more because there's not enough teams.
Yeah, what I mean, it is like you said, it's you, Bagley,
Yes,
Mitchell.
sir. Mitchell,
Um,
BJ was like that. Uh, even
yeah,
the Henderson team, they're out of South Mississippi, so they're another 5 hours further from everything than I am. And then like the best location you can possibly get right now that I can see is going to be, it was always around Little Rock. If you lived around Little Rock, then you had the best location to run a comp. Well, then that's kind of changed because this guy bought it and kind of went more, especially Ernie. When Ernie was doing it, he went more up. This guy's going up. So it screws the guys like me, Bagley, Mitchell, but it helps us. I mean, I think it helps the series in general. It's going to help that guy
Yeah.
grow the series faster.
What do you think about the MLRA thing? Aren't you going and doing that?
Man, I don't know.
Think it's getting? Do you think it's getting too busy, or
I don't think you can, to a degree. Now, we're lucky that the Revival series started. Or at least it's growing. It's growing really fast. The Sooner series growing. All that's good. All that's great. Because I will say, at least the way it's looking, in my opinion, in 10 years, if you don't run a series, you're not going to get anywhere. There will be no local racing at all. Just for whatever reason, like the guy I know that runs the Architect Speedway, he was telling me his schedule. He was listing off his races to me, and even he's saying just about every race you're going to get is going to be a series race because it's the only way you can guarantee that you're going to get cars. You might have a crate race out of the crate series, the American crate series out of Texas, the Daniel series, or you might get the Sooner series or the Revival series, or even comp. That's the only way to guarantee that you're ever going to get any cars. Well, if you do it unsanctioned, say like the Jambalaya race I was at, you do it unsanctioned, nobody has to be there. So then you only have 25 cars. Well, it just makes the track look bad because you only have 25
yeah,
cars. So I would
yeah,
say, in my opinion, 10 years time, if you don't run a series, the way it's looking, if you don't have a series, you're not gonna. There will be no racing unless you go find a series race. Whether you run a series or not, go find a race that's sanctioned by something. The way it
yeah.
seems like it.
What do you think about the crate late models? I mean, as a stepping stone, is that a pretty good stepping stone for people to
It
move into
depends.
Sheepers, or what do you think about that?
It depends. In my opinion, yes. It's the only stepping stone, to be perfectly honest. The mods deal, you're already, you got USMTF, so there's series to go run there. The street stocks, factory stocks, like the stock car world is growing. They're starting to have them XR races for
Especially down in
100,000.
your neck of the woods.
Especially my area, man, when they have a 20,000 win stock car race, there's 70 of them. Like it kills around here. It's really the biggest class we'd probably have, that or the 3-link mods. So uh the stock car thing is blowing up. It's been blowing up my whole life. The modifieds come probably 5 years ago and they died just in the last couple of years. The crate cars come 5 years ago, it died in the last couple of years. The stock cars was the only thing that's continued to keep growing. But it just seems like if you want to be the guy that goes and runs Lucas Oil World of Outlaws, you want to be Jonathan Davenport one day, you don't necessarily, I don't think, have to be in a crate car, but it helps because it's the only way to learn how to work on them, learn how to move the 4 bars to do what, learn how to do the shocks. I mean, it's more expensive, obviously, than most classes, but it's the only way it seems like you're going to learn the shocks, the rules, the body stuff is way more important than, say, a mod. So, the shocks, we have less rules. So the shock stuff's there's a lot more going on than in a modified. So the only downfall to me compared to crate racing to super racing is it's harder to drive the cars, just in general. It's harder to
Really?
drive just because there's no power to do anything. When you drive around, when you're going around somewhere that's a circle, say Springfield Raceway, you use the wheel spin to make everything happen, right? You don't ever touch the brake. You don't use a lot of brakes. So if you use the wheel spin, you get in a crate car, you don't have wheel spin. So you have to force the car to turn. You have to force it to get back going straight. You can't, at least in a supercar, you can use the wheel spin to control where the front of your car is going. But in a crate car, you
Okay.
don't have that ability. And then the other downfall I say to a crate car is when you make a mistake. Now I say that this is probably a good thing. When you make a mistake, you can't recover from it. So we're all going the same speed, right? We're all going 80 miles an hour. when you slow down to 75 because you made a mistake as a driver, you don't have the horsepower to go 85 or 90.
So
You're
you're
just
just
going to go
stuck.
back to 80 miles an hour. So you're stuck. You lose 3 spots and you can't get them back. But to me, that's a good thing because it just teaches you, like, don't make the mistakes. Slow it down in your head. And I will say that's one advantage to it. You're going at a slower pace. You're going at a slower speed. So if you're used to, say, a supercar and you get in a crate car, it happens so fast that you can think faster than everybody else. If you do it the opposite, you go from a crate car to a super, the guy that's in a super is going to think a lot faster than you can because he's used to going faster. So to me, that helps. Like, it helps you get that gradual step of how to race someone. It teaches you, if you screw up a restart in a crate car, you're screwed because there is no making that ground back up. If you screw up, your corner speed is more important than anything in a crate car. If you screw that up, or really, that goes for not even a crate car, that goes for any car that don't have 800 horsepower, like any local division. When you screw up your corner speed, you can't recoup that speed. So you just got to learn to not make the mistakes. Well, to me, that's one advantage to the crate car. You can slow it down, so it teaches you how to race people because you're not going as fast. When you wreck something, it's usually not as hard. It don't cost as much money. And then I'd say the biggest thing that seems to me is it teaches you how to use your pedals because your steering wheel, like in a supercar, your steering wheel don't do a whole ton. Your steering wheel determines a lot, but you're doing everything with your feet. On a crate car, you got to learn that. So I think it's a great thing that people start in crate cars. It's just they're so expensive. It's just if your area, like our area, don't even have crate cars anymore. So you got to pick something else if you're going to start racing.
Yeah. I don't know. I know there's a lot of modifieds. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how it is down there,
Lots,
but I mean,
lots of
you could
modifieds.
throw. I say this before. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Man, you could throw a rock and hit a B mod up here. I mean, there's just,
That's the way.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. Like y'all have the Midwest mods. We have kind of the same thing.
Midwest Bs. Yeah.
Yeah, our stuff is all B mods. So our stuff's all like a spec motor with a 3-link. Oh, I got one sitting beside me. A spec motor with a 3-link and a solid 12 bar. Well, like down here, there's hundreds of them. Well, then you step up to an A mod and there's zero. Too expensive,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. That's what it seems like. There's zero B mods or zero A mods. You get in a B mod and there's hundreds of them. You can go to a race and have 30 every night. You get in a stock car, there's 30 every night. You get in a
Yep.
crate car, there's 10. I guess it's so expensive. And then
Well,
you
I
get
mean,
in an
I don't
open
know.
car.
I've had guys tell me that it's not. I mean, you can get into a late model, maybe not, the best in the world, or
Hmm.
but you can get into one for almost as much as you can a mod.
Yeah, I'd say, um, like my brother bought a modified. Definitely 90% of it is the same. Obviously the motors are really the same price. The whole rear ends, I mean, just the only advantage is the actual components of everything are going to be cheaper because a mod is built to be more stock, obviously, than a super late model. So your modified is always going to be cheaper. Like this, the biggest thing that my brother learned when he bought this modified, you can buy 5 modified wheels for the price of one late model wheel. You can
I've heard
buy
that.
you can buy
Yeah.
2 motors for the price of one late model motor. You can buy 5 of their rear ends for the price of one of our rear ends. Like that part's nice. That part's nice. But definitely in a late model, there's so many of them, I think is what it is. There's so many of them that you're gonna find one that's cheap. I mean, they're out there. Old GRTs, Masters builds,
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them out there. Now, obviously, if you're gonna go be Jonathan Davenport, can't do that. You gotta have $110,000 car and the newest
Yeah.
motors, newest shocks. That's the only way to beat them guys. But if you want to go
But you
run a
can take
cash
those.
money,
Go ahead.
no, I mean, if you want to run a cash money series, them old cars are fantastic because they're so simple. But
And is
continue to
there a
Sam.
big difference, like on that kind of racing or crate racing? Is there a big difference in those old chassis? I mean, in crate racing, does it make a huge difference?
Uh, Crate racing, you can get away with it because not everybody has the newest and greatest. So crate racing, like when I crate raced a lot, you could get away with having Like I didn't never have super new cars. I have newer cars than most people, but I never had incredibly new cars until like my second year, third year racing. So in the crate racing, you can get away with it, I think, because there's more rules to limit the people that have unlimited funds. There's more, they're more anal about the body rules and the shocks, and like the tires are a little bit cheaper. You don't really tear up as much stuff because you're going slower half the time. So in the grand scheme of things, it's way cheaper. Now, you say you go to Georgia, Alabama, somewhere where the crate racing's really, really big, you can't do that. You got to have the best of the best. You got to have the Eagle motors. You got to have new chassis. You got to have Bilstein shocks. It's the only way you're going to beat, Matt Henderson and Jason Welsh, that group. But if you're running a cash money or a crate series, there's no need to have, to me, there's no need to have new cars unless,
I got you.
I mean, there's advantages to it. You're gonna have the biggest thing that's changed over the last 20 years that I've been around it, that my dad mentions all the time, is the right front. When you get in an old Mastersville, an old Rocket, whatever, the right front ain't gonna travel 5 inches like they do today. Might travel 3.5, might travel 3. Well, that's gonna be an issue. The guy that travels the furthest half the time is gonna win. Well, outside of that, the left rear, we have so many rules on the left rear. You're kind of limited in what you can do anyway. The right rear ain't changed in 30 years. The left front ain't changed in 30 years. So 90% of it, if you're going to have an old chassis, it'd be the right front. And then really just especially Longhorn, what Longhorn has done, what we know about chassis has progressed so much. Well, back then you just, Rocket copied a Bullet, Longhorn copied a Rayburn and our Blinkless. So we copied a Rocket. Like, we all copied something. This is what you did. But Longhorn definitely has taken it to another level on like scanning
Yeah.
them, knowing the flex, knowing how much it's going to stretch after 10 races, knowing how much it's going to stretch after 50 races. Every time you go in their shot, they got something experimental every time. And then that part, they've expanded the horizon of how much we know about chassis, like a tremendous amount. Well, like here, we can't do that. We don't have a $100,000 scanner. We just don't. We figure it out as we go. Well, you go to Longhorns and they have an entire shop that's dedicated. Their only job is figure out how to go faster every day.
Wow.
Like, we can't do
cool.
that.
And apparently
Yeah.
they know what they're
They're
doing, because
Mhm.
a lot of people say, well, they got more drivers. That's why they win so many races.
They got
I
more
mean,
drivers for a reason. They got more
yeah,
drivers because they win races. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's obvious. It really is. But you guys, man, I've seen a lot of black diamonds out there. There are a lot of black
And
diamond cars running around out there.
we built probably 800 of them. I'd have to look, but I'd say it's got to be 800 of them over 10 years time, however long it's been. Yeah, probably 10 years.
And you
So,
still service those, right?
oh yeah,
Or
we
work on them?
still build all the components for them. If anybody wrecks, needs a front end, we still got all that. Needs deck bars, T-bars, bodies, we still build all the bodies. If someone drops one off and still needs something, like, we still do everything we did before. We just don't build them new every day. Just our new
Gotcha.
stuff is all focused on a Longhorn. But anything
I gotcha.
used, yeah, there's still plenty. I mean, there's still enough cars out there that we still have to have all the stuff, all the components.
Right. Now, when you say you Longhorn, what do they do? Do they build a chassis over there in North Carolina and send you the frame?
So
Or how does
when
that
we were
work?
at Mississippi Thunder for the World of Outlaws race, Arpin, which I didn't know Arpin at the time, he walks in my trailer. He's looking for my dad. Well, my dad wasn't there. I walked out of there. Well, then my dad walks in the trailer, and nothing really, I didn't really pay no attention to it. I was trying to race, so I didn't really pay no attention to it. Well, then Arpin walks out of there after like an hour or something, and then I walk in my trailer, and my dad's like, "Hey, what would you think about taking the Pierce route, going and getting a Longhorn, and stop building our own cars?" And of course, I thought, like, that's like, you'll never do that. You're like, this is that's all I've ever drove, so you'll never do that. Well, sure enough, like 2-3 days later, he's on the phone with Arpin, trying to get a deal. Well, then like it built up probably over a month, and then that's when they announced it all. So when they announced it was right before Summer Nationals. So Arpin wanted me to have a car for Summer Nationals. Well, they weren't gonna have. So the way that we do it is we get 2 cars a month, kind of, at least for right now. We get 2 cars a month, and we get them frame, cockpit, brake lines. We do everything else ourselves.
Okay.
So that's our base point. So then that the first set of cars we were gonna get weren't gonna be ready before Summer Nationals. And I can't come home. Like Summer Nationals is so far from me, I can't come home. So
Right.
I actually got in a truck and drove to Minnesota. I drove to Dustin Sorensen's and picked up a bare frame. Drove back home, built it in 4 days, however long, and then went to
Wow.
Brownstown for the Summer Nationals race. So like and then so that was the first one. That was the first Longhorn like any of us had ever had. Well, we had never even looked at a Longhorn. Well, this whole car was custom built pretty much. Nobody in this shop's ever even hardly seen a Longhorn put together. So then right when I left, they went and got two more, the first 2 cars we ever got. And one of them, I'd have to see where the second one went. I don't quite remember. But the first one went to BJ. BJ built him a
Okay.
car. We built the second one. Not sure where that one went. Well, then I come home and I had struggled, the whole Summer Nationals. I was not good the whole Summer Nationals. And then, but I had every night you're trying to learn something because I knew absolutely nothing about a Longhorn. They gave me the setup book and said, have at it, basically. Well, the problem is I would do their setups and they wouldn't work. So, because I had had so much stuff wrong on this car that I knew nothing about, well, I just put it together like we all put it together like a black diamond. So that's all we know. So every night, like every day I do the shocks and I do something different just about every couple of days and still run like
Trying to
crap.
figure it out.
Yeah, just trying to figure something out. Well, then eventually about the last week or so, the last 2 weeks of Summer Nationals, my dad we had finally come down. We had come down to Tennessee, which is the closest Summer Nationals gets to my house. Well, my dad just called me and he's like, this was at Duck River. He's like, you want to just come home? Like I'd run so bad. You want to just come home? We'll just rebuild this car, start over. And of course, you're like, man, I done invested 4 weeks into this Summer Nationals. I don't want to quit now. Well, then he decided we're just gonna go to Garrett Albertson's. So I loaded my stuff up, went to Garrett Albertson's shop, had him scale it, go through it. There were so many things wrong with that car; it was unreal.
Really?
So we went through it, scaled it. It was bad, like stuff I knew nothing. Like none of us knew anything about a Longhorn. Well, I went to Burlington, Iowa, with him for the Lucas race, and run like 11th. It was the best. Like for the time, it was the best I'd ever run against that group, against the Lucas Oil group. Then you're like, man, we got something. Well, then I went to the Wheatland. I think it was the Show Me that weekend. No, maybe the Diamond Nationals. One of the week races at Wheatland. We went to Wheatland and I was god awful. Run like 10th both nights in the B main. Terrible. So I was just bummed out. I'd had such a bad couple months. And then so I come home and like quickly got everything ready. We're gonna do something at home now because Summer Nationals is over. Come home, go run a comp race and just see if I can figure something out. So then I had struggled, I'd been gone for 2 months. So all my stuff was tore up. My body was beat up. All my stuff was old. Well, then we loaded up and drove to Arrowhead for the comp race. And I run second to Billy.
Yeah.
I
And
got there
a
late.
few more
Look,
laps,
yeah,
you probably you had it.
yeah. I thought I had him pass on the back straightaway and I just barely messed up turn 4. Well, that race was like the first race I even come close to winning in a Longhorn. So that like for me mentally, that was a really big deal. So then it like took off from there. So I come home from that trip and like finally like excited. Something went right. Well then like over the year, over the next however long, 4 months of the year, it just got better and better and better to where finally you feel like you're getting somewhere. Well, then the year's over. Now I can come home. I wrecked the car. Why not? It's getting fixed. So I'll have 2 cars finally. I'll get to go to Costco and get to start over. Costco's one of my best tracks. So I'll get to start over and just start fresh. And finally, this will be the first like full attempt I'd had at a Longhorn. Because you
I
don't
got
think
you.
about it. So when I swapped the Longhorns, you don't think about all the little stuff that you think, oh man, we're gonna put their setup on there, and we're gonna go like hell. Well, you forget the seat's mounted different, the steering wheel's mounted different, the pedals are mounted different, the way you sit in the cockpit's different, the way you look at the dash is different, everything. So like even the little stuff you would have never thought about. Well, I remember the first time at Brownstown I drove that car, I was moving the steering wheel after hot laps. I moved the steering wheel every time I come off the track because every time I was on the track, I felt so uncomfortable. Now, Black Diamond's all I've ever drove. I've never even drove another car chassis brand ever. So you get in this Longhorn, and the seat feels don't feel right. The pedals don't feel right. The steering wheel don't feel right. The way you look at everything don't feel right. Like you feel like I felt like I was about to wreck every lap because nothing felt comfortable. So by the time the Summer Nationals got over with, that was 26 races or something like that in like 30 something days. So like I was wore out. My stuff was beat down. I'd run like crap. And I'd finally gotten to where I could like drive hard in a Longhorn. Like I finally had a little bit of confidence. Well then you come home, you're gonna get an Arrowhead, and then you start running good the next few weeks and you feel like getting somewhere. Well then I wrecked that car at Wynot like really hard. And then so you come home, you build a new car. Well now you know. Now you know a lot of stuff about a Longhorn. So you put the seat a little bit better, you move the steering wheel a little bit better, move the pedals a little bit better. Now you get in this car and it feels like you're Black Diamonds. Like my legs are more flat, my hands more like I'm more stood up in the seat. Like everything went better. And then you go take this car to Charlotte, and I run third in the B main that Devin ran. Like finally, like that fast. You get in a new car, you're more comfortable, a little bit more confidence, and turns it around like no problem. So that part's nice. Like that was the hardest part that took like the getting used to was all the stuff you would have never thought would have mattered, like the seat and the steering wheel and the pedals. And then you finally get used to it. And then you finally get to where like you can go around Charlotte wide open. Well, when I first got a Longhorn, I would have never went around Charlotte, Eldora, anything like that wide open because I felt like I was gonna wreck every lap because I didn't know, felt like I didn't have no feeling. So that part will be nice. This will be the first year. This Casa Grande will be the first like fresh start I've been able to get in a Longhorn. Then I'll have 2 cars with me. All my stuff will be fresh like everybody else's. So that part will be like I'm looking forward to that part for sure.
Yeah. So all that little stuff, I mean, like you said, Longhorn gave you, setup
Hmm.
instructions or whatever. Um, I know a lot of people use, those setup specialty guys. You know what I'm talking about, like the VGs and the Tony Jacksons and,
But
stuff like that. So did you guys consider doing that, or is that what you are
well,
going to do at some point?
I did all of them. Really, it sounds stupid, but I did. So when we first got a Longhorn, my dad knew Matt Langston, who works for Longhorn. He kind of runs their Longhorn Dynamics still. Well, my dad knew him because he was Earl's tire guy. Like I said, when my dad worked for Earl back when, uh, he was Earl's tire guy. So my dad knew Langston pretty good. Well, I'd call Langston every couple of days, get his setups, and they wouldn't work. I'd call Vinny, the VG Performance. I call VG Performance because my dad's known him his whole life too. So I'd call him, get his setups, they wouldn't work. Then you call, man, I don't even know. You'd call Arpin, get his opinion, wouldn't work. You talk to Rumley, get his opinion, it wouldn't work. So then you start getting aggravated. Well, that's when I went to Garrett's. You put his setup on there. And it wasn't even a setup. It was really more getting the car right. I had a couple days at Garrett's shop to like clear my head, get rid of forget about Summer Nationals. Let's do something different. Like sleep a couple days on the thought that like I don't have to race the next day. Well, then you go to Burlington, you have a pretty good run. But then you're like, well, you're gonna run Garrett's setup for a little bit, and I did. That's what I run for a while. Was kind of like Garrett's program, and it was like really really good for a while. Well, then you start like branching off. You start making your own tweaks to it, and then you get like now. I've been in a Longhorn enough now. I got my own kind of deal. I don't really have to call nobody. Now you do. You still talk to everybody. Try to keep up on your information. But yeah, like you said, when I first started in Longhorn, I used everybody I could think of.
I got you.
Anybody that I
They,
knew that I was friends with, I tried.
so you're going to get to the point though eventually to where you're going to have it set up good enough to where you'll be able to tell people, hey, this is what I
Uh,
do.
yes and no. I'm not really Jonathan Davenport, so I try not to. Now, in the Black Diamond stuff, I didn't really have a choice because you're the kind of the house car. So you kind of, people come to you for their advice. But in the Longhorn deal, I don't really have to, I still have to do it, but not as often. But I still don't mind telling people I'm not the guy that's going to get out and tell you this car's better than another. I just haven't raced enough. I'm not, I'm not Ricky Thornton. So, but I mean, I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what I run good with and what I run bad with. Now, if it works for you, I couldn't tell you. My dad's better at that. He's never drove. So he's never seen this side of it. He's never thought like a driver. He's only ever
Wow.
thought
So
like
he
a crew
never drove
chief.
at all. He's just always been working on them.
Never wanted to. We've tried to
Okay.
get him to on practice days and stuff like that. He won't do it.
Yeah. He just won't
Has
do it.
no interest in it. No interest in it. Couldn't. He can't stand it. Like he only ever knew the crew chief thought process. Well, I've only ever known the driver thought process because I've never been a
Yeah.
crew chief. So most of the time, I just send them to my dad. Like you explain it to them the way you would explain it. If I tell
Yeah.
them, it might be wrong.
Is he running around with you a lot of the time out there on the road?
He used to. So when I started racing, when I crate raced, he really wasn't there super often because we had Dillard in our cars and Garrett Alberson, and our cars were still going good. So the few years I raced, he didn't really come a whole ton. Really, my mom and stuff would come. So when I first started racing, you'd call him every time you get off the track. Well, then eventually, once our business got to where we didn't really have no national cars for him to go with, he just would come with me every week. Well, it worked out. Well, then when my brother had his health scare last year, he stopped coming at all. So my mom, she don't hardly come at all anymore either. We try to get her to, and she never will, because she runs the rest of the businesses while we're all racing. She runs everything else for the most part. So she don't really like coming to the races because she don't like being gone. So she don't come no more. And then my dad, he stopped coming because my brother's health scare. So really, last year was the first year that he like didn't really come hardly at all. I just had to figure it out every night. Now I would call him if I had an issue. I'd call him and do whatever. Now he still comes to Knoxville. He'll still come to like Eldora. He'll still come to those
Like the big
races.
stuff.
The
Yeah.
really big stuff. But the day
So,
to day comp races he don't come to really.
so do you have I mean, I've run into you before at the races and stuff, and
So
I know who you got on. Do you have a crew chief or do you do it yourself? I mean, I know
really
you've got.
so I have two guys with me normally always for the most part. And then my dad comes with me say 40% of the time, 60% of the time. But when my dad's there, I have him to bounce ideas off of. But in the last couple years, with me racing more than he has, just in the last couple years, he kind of he'll let me make the decision if that makes sense, and he'll just bounce the
Yeah, yeah, I got
ideas.
you.
But really, when my dad's not there, I have to do them decisions on my own, like the bars and the shocks and stuff like that. I have to do that on my own. But other than that, if my dad's there, he'll help me with it. Sometimes I'll have afterburner performance with me, certain tracks. You'll have Vinny with you. Certain places that the shop guys will be at, they'll help you. But if you like say most comp races, I just figured it out on my own. He kind of forced me to, which I enjoy. When I started
Yeah,
racing, so when I started racing, I remember one night in the shop, I asked him something about like a transmission or something. And he said, I've worked on these cars since I was 20 years old. I'm however old now, 55. I don't want to. I don't want to work on them. You figure it out. Just figure it out on your own. So he'll tell me, anything I need to know. If I ask him something, he'll tell me. But in terms of like the actual work on the car, he don't do nothing like that. He don't like, he don't want to. It's not his thing
Yeah.
anymore. So the actual, like, if you like, when you see me at a comp race, I just make them decisions on my own. So he forced me to learn that. He forced me to learn the shocks, learn the spring smasher, learn how to do the driving and kind of the crew chief at the same time. Like, he forced me to, which at the time, it meant that I had a lot of bad nights. You made a lot of bad decisions. But at least now, it's awesome. Because then when you get out, I can I can think about the setup stuff while you're on the track. And when you get out of the track, while you're thinking
Yeah.
about how the driving
That's
went,
got to
you
be an
can make a
advantage,
decision.
right? It's kind of got to
It
be an advantage, right?
depends. It depends on the driver. Yeah, Ricky Thornton don't need a crew chief. He has one, like he always has one, but he don't have to have one. He personally can think all that on his own.
Because he
If you
knows
take
what
a
he can
He
translate it, right?
knows, yes, yes. He knows what he needs to go faster. If you go to, say, Hudson O'Neal is one of the best drivers in the country, probably ever. He has to have a crew chief. He just does. He never learned the setup part of it, so he has to have someone to bounce some ideas off of. Well, you say you go to Jonathan Davenport, he learned how to race without one. He don't need one. You go to Brandon Shepard, he needs one. He's never been successful without a crew chief. So I think it just depends. Like, my dad forced me to learn without a crew chief, but obviously the goal is to have one anyway. So like Ricky Thornton, he has one anyway. John Davenport, he has one anyway. The goal is to have one anyway, but yeah, I think it depends
I
on how
didn't
you're
know if you
taught.
had one or not, because when I seen you, and this is kind of
Hmm.
interconnected stuff that I want to get into later. You have Kay Dillard's brother on your
Yes,
crew,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And
So
and you
he
said
works
I talked
for,
to him a lot. I like that guy.
yeah, yeah, he's pretty cool. He's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But that's how kind of connected to something else I wanted to get into is you mentioned Garrett Albertson, which I knew Garrett Albertson lived
Hmm.
with you guys for a while, right? And
For
then you said
7
Kay
years.
Dillard,
Yep.
and then Kay Dillard,
Yes,
he
sir.
drove y'all stuff for a while.
Yeah. When I was, when Garrett moved, you'd have to get the story really from him. I was so young. When Garrett moved here with his wife, say I was 10 years old. Well, they just lived in our house. He worked for our chassis business. They just lived in our house for 7 years, 6 years, something like that. So Garrett's like my brother. Garrett and his wife, Garrett and Danny, I love them to death. They're like literally family to me. Well, you take, say, so Garrett, like, I talked to him religiously for the most part. Well, then you say Cade. When Cade got in our cars, we just all became friends. So we powder coat all Cade's CDR cars. If Cade needs anything built, my brother laser cuts for him. We have a fabrication shop. Like, we all needed each other when Cade got in our Black Diamonds, so we all just become friends. Well, so then even when Cade went and got Longhorns, him and my dad still talked a lot. They're still buddies. So, and then when I first started super racing, 2023, I went with Cade. I was Cade's tire guy for like 3 months, 4 months.
Really, I did
Yeah.
not know
So
that.
I just raced with him everywhere he went. I just shut down my racing for a little bit and raced with him there for the most part. Well then, so I just become friends with Cade. My dad come friends with Cade. So then even when Cade had Longhorns, went and got Longhorns, and we were still doing Black Diamonds, we saw still were buddies. So even Cade's another guy. When you call him, he'll always answer. He'll, if you need anything, he'll do it. Garrett's the same way. Like Garrett, like kind of like my brother. So those were the two people. When I first got Longhorns, those were the first two people I had to call when something went wrong. Because you didn't really know, you didn't want to call Langston or Vinny, because they don't really want to help you because they got their own customers and they got their own priorities. So you'd have to call Cade or Garrett or whoever else we know that has a Longhorn and get their information. So I raced off their information for the first 2 months, 3 months I had a Longhorn.
And then you had, and not only Garrett, you had one of my previous podcast guests, Chandler Petty. He lived down there with you
Yep.
guys, right? Also,
So yeah, so when Garrett lived down here, probably about halfway through when Garrett did live with us, he moved out and got an apartment or something with his wife. Well, so Chandler moved down here because he wanted a job. Chandler moved down here from wherever he's from, Little Rock, and he lived with us too for 3 or 4 years. So Chandler lived with us, and then so Garrett and Chandler were like best friends, like brothers. Well, then the way my family always was, because we always had guests, like my whole life, there was always somebody in our spare
Yeah.
bedroom, my entire life. Whether it was Ronnie Lee Hollinsworth or Anthony Burroughs, Steve Francis, it didn't matter. There was always somebody in our guest bedroom. So sometimes it was Garrett for a few years. For a few years, it was Chandler. And then, anytime someone would come down and get a car, they just sleep in our spare bed. Oh, Chandler just worked in our race car shop with Garrett. Garrett built the rear ends and did a lot of mechanical stuff. Chandler did a lot of the mechanical stuff too, and did a lot of the body work. So, well, then, obviously Chandler goes off and does, gets married, moves back home, goes and does his thing. Garrett got so again, and when my dad started Garrett just lived with us and then had his apartment and just worked in our race car shop. Well, then when Garrett got or my dad started the Earl Pearson job, the Earl Pearson ride, he hired Garrett to be the crew chief. Well, JC, who was our body guy in the race shop, he hired to be the tire guy. So we had 2 employees that lived here, being the employees for the race car shop. Well, then, he did that. Them 2 did that for a couple years. Well, then Garrett wanted to drive. That was the whole point. He had drove the Childress car for a few years, drove the Dietz car in Arizona or New Mexico. So Garrett's whole life is all wanted to drive. So the crew chief deal was just a stepping stone for him. So he quit the crew chiefing deal and got the job to drive for Ken Roberts. Well, so he moved his wife up to Iowa, to Davenport, to drive that car, which at the time was still just an MLRA. Well, when he did that, my dad had Anthony Burroughs as crew chief for a little bit. He had a couple other guys. Well, then that's kind of
Okay.
when the team folded. It's when the team folded. But then Garrett just inherited Black Diamonds because that's what Ken Roberts had with whoever drove it before. Well, he just inherited the Black Diamonds. So he still come down here all the time to get cars, build cars, do whatever for Ken. Well, so then Garrett, like even today, when he did the dome wrap, I called him and made fun of him for it. Like it's like still talk to the guy every couple days. And then even just Cade, you just become buddies with the guy because you have our cars. So like that's I think what made my dad good at his job is he become friends with everybody he knows. My dad talks to everybody in the pit area. Well, I don't. He talked so much when I was little. I just learned not to talk. So like everybody, it don't matter if you had our cars at some point, like Jimmy Owens, Francis, it don't matter. Earl, you're buddies with him. Kyle Beard, you're buddies with my dad. He's gonna call you at some
Networking.
point.
Networking
Yeah,
was
he's
a big part of
networking.
the job.
He talks on
Yeah.
the phone more than any person I've ever met in my life. Yeah. He talks in
Oh,
general
man.
more than any person I've ever met in my life.
It sounds like I need to get him on the show one of these days.
Dude, I'm telling you, he has some stories. Mainly my mom. If you could ever my mom don't like to talk about them days just because it was so long ago. But when she does
Yeah.
start telling stories, it's hilarious because she lived with Scott for a couple years. They lived in his basement. They worked for Billy. They worked for Freddie. So like she has some stories about like Blinkless that are just outrageous.
I bet.
Just them doing dumb stuff. She
Yeah.
like she knew all the wives, so she heard all the gossip. So if you name a driver, say if you name Bart Hartman, if the name Bart Hartman comes up in our house, she's got some story about partying with Bart
Story.
Hartman. Every time. It never fails. So
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
I grew up around a lot of that. Like a lot of you mentioned you mentioned the name Skip Bart to somebody, most people aren't gonna know what you're talking about. But if you mention it to my family, my mom or my dad's gonna have some story about hanging out with the guy 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So that's like when I graduated high school or when I first started racing when I was 16, there was no, you do this for a couple years and you get a job. It was, you're going to race the rest of your life. That was the only option.
Nice.
It's all I've ever known. I mean, they gave me the option to go to college and stuff like that, but Like my mom one day, she's like, "You're either gonna race full time and take it for real, or you're gonna go to college." And I was like, "Well, I hate school, so we're gonna race." So I decided to start racing. So, and then
Gotcha.
from then on, it's all I've ever done. It's all I've ever
Yeah,
done. I have no other
that's
hobbies.
super cool, man. Well, you're living the dream, man. That's freaking
Man,
awesome.
it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Getting to
for
like
real. If you're gonna race
come in here,
110,
yeah, getting to come in here and do
yeah,
this every
you're
day is pretty
around it
awesome.
all the time, all the people you
Mhm.
know and stuff, man. It's super cool. And if you're
Yeah.
gonna race 100 and something races next year, you are. It's freaking living the dream right there, man. That's
Man,
awesome.
I'm gonna try.
Hey,
It's
let me
life in
ask you this
paradise.
question. My gosh, I've had you on here for an hour. Let me ask you this question. I know we've just probably just scratched the surface, but what is up next for you? Is it Wild West? Are you going out there?
Yes, sir. So my
Okay.
next plan will be the Casa Grande races. So the last couple years, when I left Vado, I drove to Phoenix and I run them the Ernie Mintz. That was a name. I'm not sure what it was, but like the early thaw or something. That was like
Yeah.
a 5,000 to win Casa Grande. It was the same thing as Vado. It was like 14 races in like 17 days or something like that. And so finally last year, I went there for the first time in 23. I went back in 24. Well, finally this year I won one race. So we raced Friday night, or no, we raced Thursday or Wednesday night or Thursday night, something like that. Raced Friday night and I won it. Raced Saturday night and I run third. Well, then Saturday night, my brother had a massive like health scare.
You're
So
right.
I
I
loaded
remember
up and
that.
left. Yep. So I loaded up and
Yeah.
left. Well, I gave him crap all the time. I was bummed out. I was leading the points, so I was gonna get that check, and I just won a race, so I probably could win another one. So I gave him crap all the time. I could have won more races if he wouldn't have had his issues. But
How's
yeah.
he
So I
doing,
loaded
by the
up and
way?
left.
Is he doing
He's
okay?
doing he's doing fantastic. I'm
Good.
sure he'll
Good.
call me. It's getting about that time he'll call me, ask what we're doing for dinner. But yeah, he's doing fantastic. He runs that laser cutting company every day. Uh, his heart stuff doing great. His machines are all doing great. He's lost like 100 and something pounds since he don't come to the races at all anymore. He has no interest in it. Or he don't come to the races unless he knows everybody there, which isn't very often because he didn't talk a whole lot. So he don't come to the races a whole lot. He'll come to like Boot Hill and stuff like that. But yeah, he's doing fantastic. Uh yeah, he hasn't really had a whole lot of problems since that one big issue. So
Okay.
he's doing great.
Okay. That's good, man. That's good.
Hmm.
So, so you're going to the Wild West shootout, and then I guess probably Speed Weeks after that.
I think so. I'm not quite sure. To be honest with you, I did the same thing this year. I made the decision on Thursday where I was racing Friday. It's kind of the way I might the way to say it. So I would say when I get done with Vado, I'm pretty sure, not Vado, but when I get done with Wild West, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go run Volusia for the Sunshine, whatever they call that, the Winter Nationals or something. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go do that, but I'm not quite sure. Now, what's gonna happen after that, I have no idea. I'm sure I'll be driving across the country somewhere, but I'm almost positive I'm gonna leave Casa Grande and go to Volusia, and then after that, I have no idea. But then obviously, when you get to about March, you start doing the comp deal. The races are more around here, more within 10
Yeah.
hours.
First comp is at
So,
Arrowhead, I think, is what I saw.
is it?
Yeah,
Hmm.
in March.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I saw
that's
that.
fairly close to me. That ain't but like 6 hours for me, something like that. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
an
it's a
easy
pretty
one.
good payday on that one too, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look and see again, but it looked like a pretty good race.
Oh yeah, yeah. What that guy's doing is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
If he can make
yeah,
it all work, it'd be pretty cool.
yeah. Man, it'd be nice to have a series over here in our part of the world that could compete with the other two. You know what I mean? If possible. I don't know if that'll ever happen,
Personally,
but it would be
I don't
nice.
think it'll ever happen. It would be really cool, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Financially, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, it may
There's
not be,
just
but
we're too far. So if you ever notice, the national series never go to Texas. They never go to Oklahoma.
I know I don't get it. I mean, there's got to
It's
be
too
all kind of
far.
money to be made down there
Yeah, it's too
for the
far.
drivers because they're based over east. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So say take who's a regular. Say take Davenport's in a little bit different boat because his shop's so far west.
In
Say
Batesville, yeah.
in Batesville. Well, if you say take a normal Ricky Thornton, most of them guys, him, Overton was. If you take anybody that lives around there, so if you take Hoffman, anybody that's from Charlotte, for
Yeah,
them
Troutman's shop's
to
over there,
get
I think.
when they come to Boot Hill, they complain and complain it's too far to drive. Yeah, Troutman too. They complain it's too far to drive. If they went another 4 hours further, they're just not going to run the series. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's as much
Yeah.
as it sucks. That's just the way it is. So the Boot Hill deal, it has to be 50,000 or they wouldn't come.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, not literally, but just if it was 10,000 to win, they don't want to drive
Well,
15
sure.
hours
Okay,
for
yeah, I
ten
get that.
thousand
Yeah,
dollars.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not literally like that, but if it was, they don't want to drive this far for just another race. If they're gonna drive that's why if you ever see a race that's around really our area, like a pretty big area, it's gonna be pretty big. Say Wheatland. Wheatland's pretty far west for that group. It better be a big deal or they're not coming. It's just too far west. The same way. Uh, even
Well, you know what?
like,
World Outlaws, it was pretty cool seeing them because they did go to Boot Hill, right? That was the
mm-hmm,
Boot Hill race.
yep,
That was the Outlaw
yep,
race. Then
mm-hmm.
they did Humboldt
Kansas,
and
yep,
81 in Kansas, and then the
mm-hmm.
Arrowhead. So, I mean, they at least made an effort to get out this way.
They try. So Francis is pretty hardcore when he makes his schedule for World Outlaws. He's pretty hardcore on like he wants to come out here because he knows if he comes to Boot Hill, he will get all the comp cars along with the World Outlaws cars. He will never struggle for car count. The problem is when you tell Dennis Erb to drive to Louisiana and it don't pay very good, he's going to tell you to get lost. If you tell Bobby Pierce to drive Louisiana for not very much money, he's going to tell you to get screwed. So they better make it worth their while. The first year, I think it was 30,000, or even Gustin won it the first year, or I think he won it both years. That's every bit of 15 hours. Come down here. I think it takes me 15 hours to get to Marshalltown, so it's got to be 15 hours to get down here. And then, but like that's what they complain about. It better be 30,000. They're prima donnas, like really bad. They complain a lot. All of them do. We all do. Because it's never going to be good enough. It's never good enough for a dirt racer. But
Yeah. Well, and then it costs so much money to drop the door on
it
that.
costs
Drive
so
down
much
there and drop the
money.
door on that trailer.
It costs $6,000 just to unload and race every bit of it. So yeah, that's kind of the deal. Like if they're going to come down here, like they just don't mind telling their promoters, make it worth our while, or we're just not going to come. So that's why the first year I think it was 30,000. This year it was 50. When they go to Wheatland, it's got to be the Show Me or the Diamond Nationals, or they're not going to come. When they go to wherever else, used to they had Lucas races at Pike County. They had Lucas races at this Super B Speedway next to me. They had Lucas races at the Architect Speedway. But I think it's just gotten so expensive. Like diesel's just gotten so expensive. It costs so much for them to drive down here that they just
and I hear the tracks have to pay out so much money. I mean, it just costs them so much money to lock it down.
The biggest thing you don't ever notice is the fans. The fans is how the track makes their money back, is the general admission. So if you come to say my area, racing's big, but it's not like incredibly big. So your fan count usually isn't very good. Well, if you go to Oklahoma, the fan count's never going to be very good because racing's just not that big. You go to Texas, you got to have sprint cars or there are going to be no fans. So that's their biggest thing. So they come to Boot Hill. When they come to Boot Hill last year, Francis come over to my trailer and he said, there's 5,000 people here. Their stands only hold like 4,500.
Well, it was packed when I was there this year.
That's just the general admission. You got to count the other few thousand that are in the pits. So he said, this is pretty amazing. Like he said, I expected to have a good crowd because we don't have national races ever. So when we do, it's a big deal. So that's why they upped it to 50,000. And then they come this year and they packed it out again, had even more
Yes.
cars, even more people in the pits. So say we had 50 cars, each people, like my whole family come. I had 20 people come in there. That's $20, $40 a piece. It don't take much, and you got $10,000 added up between everything.
And
So
not to mention just the people who come to the pits. I
just the
mean, I
people
know
come
there
to
are
the
a bunch
pits.
that were just there, just coming to the
You
pits to
got
watch
a
the race.
you got another 5,000 in the general admission, and then they sold God knows how many T-shirts and just merchandise just off that one race. So that's the biggest thing. So Francis or whoever series, whatever series, Lucas or whatever it was, they're not going to go somewhere unless they know they can get cars and people. And that's another thing. When they look at tracks, if they don't hold at least 3,000 people, they just don't even consider them. They don't even put them on the list because they know you got to hold at least 3,000 or you're never going to make your money back because the purses are so big. Because the purses are, 50,000 per race. So that's kind of like it screws a lot of tracks because they don't have enough seating, but it is what it is. Because that national series just knows for the track to not lose a bunch of money, you got to at least have 3,000 people, or what they have a certain number of
Right.
people. So that's kind of it makes you feel bad for some of them tracks because they beg for them national races and they're never going to get them just off the fact that they just don't hold enough people. Like your normal Boot Hill holds 5,000 people. That's right on the threshold. They know when they come to Boot Hill, they're going to get 5,000 people every time, which means the track makes a profit, the series makes a profit, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And they're never going to struggle for cars, which is entry fees, which I'm pretty sure is split between the track and the series.
Yeah.
So
And there were a bunch of cars
yeah,
there too, man. That field out there was, that
it
place was
was
packed
stout.
too. Yeah.
It was good.
Man, that
Yeah,
was
it
a
made
fun
our
race.
area look good. It made our area look really good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
drove 6 hours down there, man. That was like 5.5, 6 hours. I drove down there, man. It was worth the trip, man. I had a blast down there at that place. I
yeah,
really
that
did.
place is it's changed a lot. The new owners that have had it have made a massive improvement over what it was. Just in terms of this effort, moving the back straightaway wall, moving the grandstands. They upgraded the bathrooms. They upgraded the concession stand, like stuff like that.
No, that
They
pit
changed.
concession stand, man. They had some chicken tenders back there. It's the best, maybe some of the best food I've had in a freaking in a pit at a racetrack. It was
Man, I don't think
awesome.
I've
I mean, it
ever.
really was.
Man,
It was good.
it's weird. Like when you tell people, say I grew up racing with my dad. You grew up going to the track to work. You never went to the track to hang out ever. You just didn't. Like that's just not the way I was raised. So when you would go to say I don't mind telling people I've been to Wheatland maybe 20 times in my life. Me and my mom went every year for the Show Me and the Diamond Nationals. I've never been in the grandstands. I've never been to that side of the track. I've been to Knoxville, say I think 3 times, 4 times. Never been in the grandstands. I've been to East Bay Speedway. I've been there probably 10 times. Never been in the grandstands. Boot Hill, I live 20 minutes from there, and I've never even been back there. So like,
Really.
yeah, like it's weird when it throws people off when they start talking about the grandstands, and I'm like, I don't know
Oh,
what you're talking about. I ain't never even been
I
back there.
understand. I kind of understand
Yeah,
what you
no,
mean.
yeah.
Since I've been doing this, it's rare that I get out to the ground.
Yeah.
I'm usually in the pit the whole
Well,
time.
like just even when I was 10 years old, my dad was there to work. Well, I just followed him around because he was going to go in the pits area. He was going to go in the pits. You didn't to watch the races. You went and stood next to the fence. You didn't go sit in the
Right.
stands. You just didn't. So, like that's just the way I grew up. So I learned. Well, even when I'm racing, you don't have time to go in the grandstands. You don't go in the grandstands unless you got to do like an autograph session or something like that. Well, so you just most of them tracks I've been going through my whole life. I've never even been in the grandstands. Well, Boot Hill is one of them. Boot Hill, I've been there hundreds of times. Never even walked back there. So I don't even know what is back there. But I've just heard they've upgraded their stuff a lot. And then even in the pits, even what I've noticed, the pits have gotten just nicer in general. The atmosphere is a lot
Yeah,
nicer.
that's what I was talking about. That concession stand back there in the pit area.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty nice.
yeah,
They got that little covered place you can sit there,
yeah.
and in the pits, and you don't see that a lot. I think maybe Wheatland has that, something like that. But it's pretty nice, man. I had a blast at that place. I hope I don't know if we're gonna have another one this year. I haven't seen the schedule, but if they do, I definitely want to get back down there to that.
The Boot Hill race?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll definitely have it. There's no way they
Yeah.
wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
There's too
For
much
sure need
money
to get back
made
to
to
that.
not have it. Hmm.
Well, Clay, man, we've been on here a long time. I think this is the longest interview I've ever had. So it's been super fun, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on
Yes,
here,
sir.
and it'd be awesome to come back on here again at some point and just do a part two, and because I feel like we kind of just scratched the surface on a lot of stuff. So,
Yep. Yes, sir.
but
Perfect.
yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, and good luck out there in Arizona, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, see ya.
I'm trying my best. See you.